Welcome to another C1 Advanced ESL-lounge reading lesson video. Today we will be reading about the psychology of motivation and 4 different theories on what truly drives us to achieve our goals. Let's begin with some vocabulary. Autonomy, the right or condition of self-government, independence. Compliance, the action of obeying a wish or command. Conform, to behave according to socially acceptable conventions or standards. Cultivated, developed or acquired a quality or skill. Esoteric, intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. Finite, having limits or bounds. Incentivize, to provide someone with a reason for doing something. Innate, inborn, natural. Intrinsic, belonging naturally, essential. Proverbial, well known, especially so as to be stereotypical. Rational, based on or in accordance with reason or logic. Sustained, continuing for an extended period or without interruption. Great! Now you know the keywords, let's read the texts. You are going to read 4 perspectives from psychologists on motivation. Read them carefully to understand each psychologist's theory. Afterwards, you will answer 10 questions to check your interpretation of each perspective. Okay, let's start with text A. Dr. Angela Newton. The traditional view of motivation, built on a system of external rewards and punishments, the proverbial carrot and stick, is fundamentally flawed when it comes to complex 21st century work. My research confirms that for anything beyond simple, repetitive labor, the most powerful driver is intrinsic motivation. This stems from an innate human need to direct our own lives, autonomy, to get better at something that matters, mastery, and to be part of something larger than ourselves, purpose. When people are given the autonomy to tackle a problem their own way, they become more engaged, and their performance soars. True, lasting motivation is not something that can be imposed or bought from the outside. It must be carefully cultivated by creating an environment where these 3 elements can flourish. Ticking boxes for a financial bonus is mere compliance. Genuine, passionate engagement is a different beast entirely. It is the difference between doing a job and doing your life's work. End of text A. Let's continue. Neil Gibson. While internal drives are undeniably important, to ignore the overwhelming power of our social context is to miss the biggest piece of the puzzle. We are fundamentally social creatures, hardwired to seek connection and belonging. A huge portion of our motivation is therefore derived from a desire to conform to the norms of our peer group, and to gain status within it. This drive can be powerful enough to make people act against their own rational self-interest, or even their personal safety. The need for social approval can override even our most basic survival instincts, demonstrating just how deeply embedded these drives are. We see it in fashion trends, in corporate culture, and in the immense bravery of soldiers. People will endure great hardship not for money, but for the respect and admiration of their tribe. Understanding this is key to unlocking motivation in any group setting. You must shape the culture, not just incentivize the individual. Behavior is contagious. End of text B. Let's continue. Karen Smith. We are, in essence, creatures of habit, far more so than we like to admit. While we like to imagine our actions are the result of conscious, deliberate decision-making, the vast majority of what we do each day is automatic, triggered by cues in our environment. Therefore, the secret to sustained motivation is not to rely on willpower, which is a finite and notoriously unreliable resource, but to consciously engineer better habits. This architectural approach to behavior change requires patience and strategic thinking. The initial push to start a new behavior requires a burst of motivation, true, but that is not what sustains it over months and years. The key is to build a recurring loop of cue, routine and reward, until the action becomes an ingrained, non-negotiable part of your identity. People who achieve long-term goals are not those with superhuman willpower, but those who have successfully automated the behaviors that lead to success, making the right choice the easy choice. End of text C. Let's continue. Derek Cheeto. Motivation is far simpler than many esoteric theorists would have you believe. It all comes down to a rational, almost mathematical calculation of anticipated outcomes. At any given moment, a person's motivation to pursue a particular action is determined by their answer to 3 questions. If I put in the effort, will my performance improve? Expectancy. If I perform well, what reward will I get? Instrumentality. And how much do I truly value that reward? Worth. This framework provides a remarkably precise diagnostic tool for understanding motivational breakdowns, in both personal and professional contexts. If the answer to any of these is low or 0, motivation will collapse entirely. It is a pragmatic, logical process that explains why a person might be highly motivated for a difficult but well-paid project, yet have no motivation for an easy task, with no meaningful reward. It is not a mysterious inner drive, but a predictable equation of personal cost-benefit analysis. Okay, time for a few questions to check your understanding. Question 1. Which psychologist argues that the context in which a person operates is a primary factor in their motivation? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is B. Neil Gibson. The text says that ignoring the overwhelming power of our social context is to miss the biggest piece of the puzzle. Question 2. Which psychologist views motivation as a logical assessment of the value of an expected reward? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is D. Derek Cheeto. The text calls motivation a predictable equation of personal cost-benefit analysis, which is a logical assessment of a reward's value compared to the effort required. Question 3. Which psychologist claims that the most effective form of motivation comes from within an individual? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is A. Dr. Angela Newton. The text states that for complex work, the most powerful driver is intrinsic motivation, which comes from within. Question 4. Which psychologist suggests that long-term success depends on making desired actions routine? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is C. Karen Smith. The text argues that the secret to sustained motivation is not willpower, but to consciously engineer better habits. Question 5. Which psychologist suggests that real motivation cannot be directly manufactured or controlled externally? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is A. Dr. Angela Newton. The text claims true motivation is not something that can be imposed or bought from the outside, it must be carefully cultivated. Question 6. Which psychologist believes that the influence of others can be a more powerful motivator than personal gain? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is B. Neil Gibson. The text states that people will endure great hardship not for money, but for the respect and admiration of their tribe, showing the influence of others is stronger. Question 7. Which psychologist argues against using sheer determination as the main tool for achieving goals? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is C. Karen Smith. The text advises us not to rely on willpower, another word for determination, because it is a finite and notoriously unreliable resource. Question 8. Which psychologist identifies a sense of personal freedom as a key component of their theory? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is A. Dr. Angela Newton. The text lists the innate human need to direct our own lives, autonomy, which is a sense of personal freedom. Question 9. Which psychologist suggests motivation will falter if a person believes their efforts will be useless? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is D. Derek Cheeto. The text asks the question, if I put in the effort, Will my performance improve? Expectancy. If the answer is no, meaning the effort is useless, the theory states that motivation will collapse. Question 10. Which psychologist argues that motivation can be understood through a practical framework, not an abstract philosophy? Pause the video now to think about your answer. The correct answer is D. Derek Cheeto. The text positions the theory as being far simpler than many esoteric theorists would have you believe, presenting it as a rational and practical framework instead. Let's quickly summarize the lesson. On this screen you can review the main points of the text and the key vocabulary. Finally, here are a few discussion questions. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching this ESL-lounge video. Don't forget to subscribe for more lessons, and we'll see you in the next one.